So December 2021, the pilot paper version 3. So you have the initial outlets 300. We are starting in the first part. They want us to get the expected NPV. Expected NPV, we get it from the expected cash flows. Sorry for connecting you in late. Now, the annual net cash flows, selling price to Konazo Hub, we can either sell at 30 probabilities if hapo. We have the expected unit variable cost. That is our V. Variable cost times the probability. We can either spend 10 with a probability of 0.2, or we can have 20, probability of 0.5, or we can have 30, probability of 0.3. That is how much? 35. 21. Then finally we have expected annual sales volume. Miaka ya hii project ni 5. That is our quantity. And it's in millions. Can either sell 4 million with a probability of 0.2, or we can sell 6 million probability of 0.45, or we can sell 8 million probability of 0.3. How much do we expect? 6.2 M. So therefore, I can have here the year. Walisema project hii iko life ya 5 years, if you can recall. So I have year 1 to 5 in millions of shillings. And I can have my expected annual contribution. Expected annual contribution. And how do you get the contribution? Price minus variable cost times what? The quantity. Right? Price ni ngapi? We expect a price of 40. Variable cost ni ngapi? 21. Na quantity ya kila mwaka 6.2. Which would give us 117.8. So to call contribution, sales minus variable cost to get the contribution. Do you have any fixed cost? We don't have any fixed cost. To get one out to get less. The annual fixed costs. Annual fixed cost. So that the work now wants you to give a sorry. So at this point, we less what? We less tax, right? Tax one is 30%, 30% of 117.8. 35.34. Then we add what? The depreciation tax share. Straight line method cost is how much? Cost is 300. Salvage value. Wacha tuambia kwa hiyo ni 0. Kwa miaka ngapi? Kwa miaka 5 times 30%. Okay. So I think probably I'm not really expected from all these areas. What we have. What we are doing and we can put all the body and accuracy. 18. 18 points. 18 flags. So do we have our expected annual net cash flows? 117.8 minus 35.34 plus 18.
Yes, you are part of evidence. Then professional behavior of social leadership
Giving us what? 100.46. Now we don't have the terminal cash flows. Na cost of capital ilisema ni ngapi? 12%. So therefore, hakuna haja ya kuandika terminal cash flows na ni zero na tuko advanced level. So you simply have our NPV at 12%. Table 1 ama table 2? Table 2. Annually for 5 years. Still. So therefore, 100.46 times. %, 5 years, table 2, annuity annually for 5 years. 3.6048 minus the initial outlay, which was 300. So we have our expected NPV for 4 months.
Then we have last one is the
2.14 positive, right?
So it looks at the things calculation of capacity.
So that is our part 1. Hiyo iko direct. Stika mambo iko kwa part 2. Twende part 2 basi. Part 1, even for those who joined us later, is simply the investment decisions under risk and uncertainty. Expected NPV is what they wanted us to get. Now, part B. The expected NPV by performing 10 runs using the following random numbers for each variable. Now that is where we are, the simulation analysis. And the steps under simulation analysis tulisema, our step number 1 is to determine the random number ranges. The random number ranges. So therefore, unaenda nayo vile imejiorganize. Usianze ku disorganize based on how the question is. The first component is the selling price. The second component is the variable cost. And the third component is the sales volume. Don't start mixing them up. Although for his one we are lucky because ukiangalia kwa hizo random numbers, selling price imepewa zake, variable cost imepewa zake, sales volume imepewa zake. This time we are lucky. Lakini ukiangalia kama ile swali ya the other class, walikuwa wametupea random numbers zimecombiniwa pamoja. So you have to go systematically. Sasa, in this case, price iko na zake, variable cost iko na zake, sales price iko na zake. Sales volume, sorry. So we are lucky. We cannot mix them out. But ukipata wametuna one set of random numbers affecting all the components of that project, then there you have to be systematic. Vile swali imejipanga, selling price iko ya kwanza itachukua random numbers za kwanza. Variable cost iko ya pili itachukua random numbers za pili. So careful on that. So therefore, we need to start with our selling price. Unit selling price. Unit selling price. Now, in our unit selling price, we have our price, we have the probability, we shall require the cumulative probability, and we shall require the random number range. We have the price, which will be in shillings. We have the probability, the cumulative probability, and the random number range. Na niko copy na kupaste. Price ya kwanza ni 30. Probability yake ni 0.20. Remember, as appreciating poor, under simulation, a zero after a decimal point is material. Sindio? So sianza kusema zero ni kelele hapana. Under simulation, zero ni ya muhimu. So that is 0.20, 0.20. We have 40 with a probability of 0.60. And we have 50 with a probability of 0.20. Cumulatively ni ku-add. So hapa tuko na 0.20. Kiongeza inakuja 0.80. Na hapa inakuja 1.00. Total probability is always 1. So ukiona una add na kupa 0 point something, ndio kuna shida mahali, fuatilia uangalie. Na kama kuna shida kwa swali na iko hivyo, you get some free marks for attempt. So you don't pray shida iko. Mimi nyinyi mnaweza omba. Depending na anyway, hakuna acha mchezo. R&R. Tulisema tunafunika hizi. Ya kwanza inakuwa ni kama 20. Ya pili inakuwa kama 8. Alafu ya mwisho ni ya 100. Sindio? So therefore, we have 0, 0. The number that is before 20 ambayo ni 19. Then after 19 we go to 22. A number that is before 8. Then 82. A number that is before 100. Surprise to the source. We need the same for unit variable costs. Unit variable cost. So you have the variable cost and the probability shall require the cumulative probability and the random number range. So variable cost ya kwanza tuko na 10, probability yake ni 0.20. We have 20, probability of 0.50. And we have 30, probability of 0.30. Cumulatively, 0.20, then we have 0.70, and finally 1.00. Unaanza na hii, unaongeza hii, unapata hii. Unaongeza hii, unapata hii. You accumulate. Now, the range 002 to 19, 22, 69, then finally 72, 99. Then finally, annual sales volume. Annual sales volume. Now for the sales volume, we have the quantity, because it's in millions, and we have the probability, which shall require the cumulative probability, and we have the random number range. On a 4 million, probability of 0.20. kuna 6 million probability of 0.50, that kuna 8 million probability of 0.30. Cumulatively, 0.20, we add to about 0.70, and finally 1.00. 00 to ngapi? 00 to 90, 22, 69, 72, 99, 70 to 99. Great. Then now we need the last part, the simulation worksheet. Hapo ukishashika vizuri, the next class we can flow. Because the next borrows from here. The next borrows from here. I can use this test.
So as an example, if you not call shares,
now, we need to do now our simulation worksheet. Our simulation worksheet.
Most of the time, say, if you have been employed in a grant, you do not put the grant because now you are.
Now the simulation worksheet, hapa tuko na inaitwa the run number of run.
These people have experts.
Run number 1, 2, 3, 4. Alafu hapa ndani tuko na price. Price iko na random number yake. Tuko na variable cost. Variable cost iko na random number yake. Tuko na quantity. Quantity iko na random number yake. So you have the price with its random number, variable cost with its random number, then quantity with its random number.
And you are one is very used to one.
So leave enough space huko mbele kidogo. Itatosha. Because tutafika hapa, tutakuwa na price, variable cost na quantity. So you shall need to do the EBDT. We less tax and add the details so that we get the cash flows. So aka process ndo kanaenda kuendelea. Because now simulation helps us to know what are the respective prices. So if we start with the run number 1, so the price is in shillings, variable cost is in shillings, the quantity is in millions. So that here now I can get my EBDT. EBDT. Itanisaidia sasa EBDT yangu sio hii. The pre-tax cash flows. Let's go one step at a time. Run number 1. Take random numbers. Random numbers za price tumepewa zote, za variable cost tumepewa zote, za sales volume tumepewa. Unfortunately hapa wamepeana kila component. Na ukiangalia vizuri si ni pair. Na probabilities zetu, the random number ranges pia ni pair. So yeah. Sasa walikuwa wamepeana 3, be guided by the range. Kama range yako inataka 2, pick 2. Kama range yako inataka 3, pick 3. Kama inataka 1, pick 1. Ndio naendelea. Kwa examine hapa na maneno yake. Anza sema next, anza leta swali lingine. Random nini? Probability of selling price equal to decimal places. Your variable cost equal 1 decimal place. Your quantity equal maybe 3 decimal places, just to cause some confusion. Singia box. Just follow the instructions. Sasa, na kama ni 1 one decimal point, usianze kuongeza zero, useme iko na error. Ukiwa the selling price iko na 2 decimal places, variable cost amepeana 1 decimal place, nasema ai hapa ni kama kuna error. That you would be setting your own question, which is criminal. Anasema unajibu swali limesetiwa sio? You don't set a question. No, it is not 0.19. It is. That's why I say upper. Assume if this decimal haiko, assume this is 20. So that you do 0, 0 to a number that is before 20, which is 19. Then you talk 19 kunaenda 20 to a number that is before 8. So you don't do 0.80, to 0.79. So 22 at 79, 82, 99. Come up and you come to 3 decimal places. Then it will be 000 to 199.
There's a way to say that.
So yeah, 200 to 799. 800 to 999. See that? Kama ingekuwa 1 decimal point hivyo, then ingekuwa 0 to 1. See that? Ingekuwa 0 to a number that is before 2, which is 1. Alafu ni 2 to 7. And ilikuwa 0.02, the total must always be 1. So hii ikuwa maybe 0.02, then inamaanisha maybe this is 0.80, then that means this is 0.2, and out of them sorry, yeah, hapa ndo tuko 0.02, maybe hapa ikuwa 0.6, then that means hapa itakuwa 0.28 ama 38. 0.38. Then it will have to be that low. So that cumulative, hapa itakuwa 0.02, hapa ikuwa 0.62, na hapa ikuwa 1. Bado inakuja. So itakuwa 00 to 01. 00 to 01. Then 02 to 61. That's fine. So still, I'm not changing the fact. Still, nimefunika hapa. A number that is before 02 is 01. So 00 to 01. Then nenda 02 to a number that is before 69, which is 61. Then nenda 62 to 99. Sasa nikumbushe hii range ilikuwa 00 to ngapi? 00 to 19. Then 22 79. Sindio? Alright. Now, tuweke the random number. The selling price weka karibu, weka zote. Tuko na 76. Rani ya pili selling price is 64. Rani ya tatu selling price is 02. Rani ya nne selling price is 53. So you have to put all of them. The random number. Then the random number for variable cost, we have 20, 82, 74, and 08. Just picking 4. You have to put all of them. So for purposes of learning, allow us to go with 4. Then quantity to gonna 55, 50, 29, and what? 58. Allow us to make 4. Then we'll conclude. Baada ya kuunderstand, ndio. Now, tuna compare now this is the point. This is the point. Let's go together. Tunaanza na selling price. Selling price, random number yetu is 76. The random number of 76 falls within which range? The range of 20 to 79. So what is the price in that range? When we are selling price yetu inakuwa. The next random number is 64. What is the selling price in this with the random number of 64? Is it still 40? 02? I think 30. Now, the quantity, the same concept. The random number of 55, quantity purposes. The random number of 55, the range is it 20 to 69? With an associated quantity of how many billions? 6 billion. Random number of 50, what is the quantity? Is it still 6? Random number of 29, what is the quantity? Still falls within the range of 20 to 69. What of 58? 106. 106. Now, EBDT is in millions of shillings. So at that point, you can now have some upper chin, you can have some space, and you show your workings. Show your workings. Now, for me to get, so my workings are here. For me to get the EBDT, earnings before depreciation and tax, I take my price, I less the variable cost, I multiply by what? The quantity. Na kama ningekuwa na fixed cost, ninge less than fixed cost. Sindio hii? Sales price minus variable cost times quantity minus the fixed cost, I get the EBDT. Sindio? By this simulation tumemaliza. Sasa tumetoka huko tumerudi kwa NPV ya kawaida. Issue is, hii ni kama project, ni kama tuko na project mingi. So under the first option, our price is 40. Our variable cost is 20. Our quantity is 6. So 40 minus 20, 20. 20 times 6, 120. Fixed cost is 0. So therefore, can we say here is 120? What's up? Price is 40, variable cost is 30. That gives us 10. 10 times the quantity of 6, 60. Fixed cost is 0. So therefore, hapa tuko na 60. Price is 30, variable cost is 30. Yako ni 0. 0 times 6, 0. That's a pass. 40 minus 10. 30 by 6. 1, 1, 8. 1, 8. So tuko kwa EBDT. Tunataka sasa tufike hapa.
Yeah, and this one.
So therefore, hapa, I can put my net cash flows.
From there to give you.
The net cash flows pia ziko in millions of
Will
shillings.
give you the expression of. Contingent is an event of currency, event of currency.
So net cash flows, how do you get the net cash flows? So my workings again, hapa change. I show my workings so that you don't have to write everything. As long as kumeonyesha formula yako, you've already shown your workings, you're good to go. So that you don't have to write hii uandike kivyake, hii uandike kivyake, wasting time. Sasa, just by illustrating here, you've shown all your workings. You're good to go. Now, getting our net cash flows. How do you get our net cash flows?
We are going to pay you.
Ili tufike hapa, tunachukua EBDT. So we take our EBDT, we adjust for tax. Tukitoa 30% tunabaki na 70%, si ndio? Alafu tunaongeza nini? The DTS. So that means I'll take my EBDT, I do times 0.7. Then I add the DTS ambayo tulipata ni ngapi? 18. How does that make? Go sawa? 1 minus 0. Tax is 30%. 1 minus 30% napata 70%. So is actually what is here. This was 117.8. Ili nifike hapa, I take 117.8. I multiply by 0.7. Then I add 18. I'll get this. That's fine. Great. Now, ile ya kwanza. EBDT ni 120. So 120 times 0.7 plus 18.
Because if you're going for you use 300,000. What am I going to do?
How much? 1 or 2.
I'm going to say 200 and 350.
The second one is 60. 60 times 0.7 plus 18.
Depends on cash. It's why we are doing another session.
43. So 43.8. Inajua. Inajua ni 18. Ukiacha chini. Na hiyo ya mwisho 180 times 0.7 plus 18. How much? 144. Sasa kama tumefika hapo, the last step ni NPV. NPV at 12%. NPV at 12%. Unamwambia kuwa you're working ili upate NPV, unachukua net cash flows. Una multiply by the annuity, which is 3.6048. Right? Someone online anasema number 260. Confirm. 60.
If I go to it, the order of getting 160. Then you
This is what we copy to change.
Yes.
Huh? 60. Yako pia ilikuja tofauti. 0.7 plus 18. 60. Thank you. Now,
Yeah, you're going to.
NPV, net cash flows times the annuity, 3.6048, minus the initial outlay, which was how much?
Yeah, well, the really nobody looked at financial. Financial.
So we have the cash flow, 102 times 3.6048 minus 300. So the first one, you have 102 times 3.6048 minus 300. What is our NPV? 7.69. Kuna hiyo nyingine 60 times 3.6048 minus 300. What does that give us? Yeah, it is another. Negative 0.7172. Remember pale kwa decision making ya NPV. A positive NPV, the project is good. A negative NPV, the project is bad. That statement means getting a negative NPV is not critical. So sipata alafu kaanza kujishughuli. Haya. The third one is a big negative, I can see. Which is negative what? 235. 235.11. Great, finally. 290. It's a positive 219.10. So kwa zile random numbers zilibaki zote unafaa ufanye hiyo. And when you look at the question had asked about what? Think expected NPV, right? Walisema the expected NPV by performing 10 runs using the following random numbers for each variable. So performing 10 runs inamaanisha kuwa hapa nitakuwa na 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hizo random numbers ziko hapo zitatosha. Examiner ni test zinatosha. Usirudi. Hauzirudi, kuna zingine zijakuza. Ukiweka zote zitatosha. Like you see, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Price. Just find your price peke yake. To confirm kwa random numbers zinatosha. Random number ya 5 kwa price. Is it 60? Ya 6 ni ngapi? 16. Ya 7 ni ngapi? 55. Ya 8 ni ngapi? 54. Ya 9 ni 23. Alafu ni 36. Sio mona. Sina fit. Na kama zingekuwa more than that, wanataka 10. Stick to 10. They can give us random numbers that can take us to 20 or even 40. They want us to have like common the same as by maybe doing 5 runs. Then tingefika kwa 5 na tuachie hapo. You don't continue, you don't proceed, you follow the instructions. Now, getting the expected NPV. Getting the expected NPV. In our case, I'm assuming I've already done the 10. Now our expected NPV. Our expected NPV ingekuwa the summation of NPV divided by the number of runs. Sum yetu siko hapa. So ukiadd hapa chini, you get the summation of NPV. Eh? Yes. The simple mean, total over number. Sasa, lakini hata tufanye scenario yetu ni wrong. Because yetu tumepiga 5 runs instead of 10. Ndio. So, 10 runs. Sema the expected NPV by performing 10 runs. So lazima tuende na 10 runs. But the most important thing for us is to understand. Now, give me this. Give me that. Total yake ni ngapi?
That is a kind of these are the mean average of our lead wall here.
Negative.
That is a counter that is
0.23. That's a negative. So assuming after doing all the 10 runs, that's our summation. So therefore hapa tungekuwa na negative 32.03 divided by 10. So our expected NPV would be negative 3.203. But it will be wrong. You won't have followed the instructions. The instructions are 10. Hata afadhali basi hiyo time unang'ang'ana nayo kufanya hii total, ongeza runs zingine so that you get more marks. Because obviously hapa utaanguka, so una waste time kuanguka. So usifanye hiyo total, endelea kuweka the runs. Sasa kwa zile time unang'ang'ana na hadi zinatosha kuweka hizi. At least ufike mahali hata kama itafika 10, ifike kwa 8 utapata marks za 8. And you can compare, si hapa kuna marks mingi hata mwenyewe ukievaluate. Si hapa kuna marks mingi compared na hapa. Now, let's see. I'm doing this because I want us to answer part C and part B. And the part is the probability that this product will be successful. And so what is the probability that it will be successful to Molise? Come at 0. Probability of being a success. It is a success at any time that we get a positive NPV. So it can either succeed if we have this NP as our NPV or this. And by the way, I'm very keen. Or na kweli language ya probability or inakuanga plus. So therefore, probability of success will be equals to penye iko positive 67.69 or 219.10. In our case hizo mbili peke yake, si ndio? Lakini ukifanya 10 runs probably kutakuwa na zingine. Zile ziko positive unazi-add zote. Out of the expected NPV ambayo the total, so which is negative 32.0. So it is this or this out of the total. And actually, it's explaining your concept because of a probability na kuja negative. So it's almost hata si zero ni negative. So negative probability is a probability that is even worse than zero.
So you took off the 10 that was the one with the
Yes.
said was positive.
So the summations ni na kwa kuzungumza ni kama kusema tu ita succeed either tukipata hii ama tupate hii ama tupate nyingine yote ambayo ni positive out of the total NPV. So out of our total NPV, a success will arise when you have this or this. So this or the plus out of the total. The probability of the project failing will be this or this out of the total. And actually fanya hii na hii sinakuwa negative. Negative divided by the negative sina probability yake itakuwa positive. The 3 points. See any discounting factor annuity. Hii project ilikuwa miaka ngapi? Miaka 5. Na kila mwaka tunapata ngapi? Hii quantity yetu ni annual. So annual for 5 years. So meaning the 120 is annually for 5 years, year 1 to 5. The net cash flows is annual for 5 years. Why is it annual? Because the price is constant, but the volume is annual. Now, the reason that we itafuta tena because she itafuta ilikuwa number 1. Ndio sababu tunang'ana kuitafuta tena. I think that's it on the right. What are the advantages of simulation? Nataka tuone some advantages and disadvantages of simulation. When you talk about advantages of simulation, the disadvantages, actually they cut across techniques of handling risk. They can talk about advantages of decision theory. They can talk about advantages of risk-adjusted discount rate, advantages of certainty equivalent to the disadvantages. They cut across. Those little points that I was mentioned, they can apply to any of the 7. That's how. So let's have some few advantages of simulation. It helps. It helps in incorporating risk. It helps in incorporating risk in investment decisions. It helps in incorporating risk in investment decisions. Another advantage, it is more efficient. It is more efficient. Since it appreciates that a project will always be affected. It is more efficient since it appreciates that a project will always be affected
For 2 months. Let it be one.
by some level of specific risk. That the project will always be affected by some level of specific risk. So in appreciate kwa lazima kuna risk ambayo ita affect the project. And that's what I'm saying. These advantages and the disadvantages that we're going to highlight, they cut across. Examine our latest 3 advantages of sensitivity analysis. Another one, it enables the management. To enhance their confidence level. Enhance their confidence level when measuring risk. When measuring risk in investment decisions.
When actually should be giving a qualified. He's going to give a correct,
Can give one more. Let's have some advantages.
Qualified.
It helps to evaluate. It helps to evaluate the projects. It helps to evaluate the projects by considering the specific risk. By considering the specific risk associated with the cash flows. By considering the specific risk associated with cash flows independently. Associated with cash flows independently. Ukiangalia hapa, price iko na yake, variable cost iko na yake, sales volume iko na yake. Risk is about probability. Let's have some few disadvantages. But then maswali za FM, anytime wanakuuliza disadvantage of something, anzanga na ya kwanza, it is difficult to calculate and apply. Compute and apply. Even if it's not right. You are because of the struggles we go through. So it's difficult to calculate and apply. Compared. Let's make it compared. Compared to other techniques. Compared to other techniques. Another one. The estimation of risk, the estimation of probabilities, the estimation of probabilities is not objective. It's not objective.
Look at it this way.
So how did you arrive at this 0.3, 0. Whatever your probabilities? It's never objective. Making it the estimation of probability is not objective, making it inaccurate. Making it inaccurate. Another disadvantage. It assumes that the expected cash flows, and their associated risk, shall remain constant. Over the project life. shall remain constant over the project life. Can give one more. Shall remain constant over the project life. Over the project life. Peana moja. It assumes that probabilities are known in advance and with certainty. It assumes that probabilities are known in advance and with certainty. Yeah. So I think that is okay. Then I can just give you one.
I think that makes sense.
So just one for you. The concept of simulation is just the random number ukishazishika, however much wanasema hiyo swali haitakusumbua. So November 2016. So we can have one. This November 2016 question 1. Jaribio moja. On Thursday we should be finishing this topic, the longest topic. The longest topic. Tukimalizana techniques of handbook. So November 2016 question 1. So try that one, so that we can allow those who have